In brightest day,
and blackest night.
no evil shall escape my sight.
Let those who worship evil's might
Beware my
beware my
power,
power. Green
Green
Lantern's
Lantern's light.
light.
I think we did better this time than we did the other time. Not gonna lie, we probably did. We probably did. So anyway, like I said, you get what you paid for, people. So, so welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. How's your fandom treating you, people? Hopefully, it's treating you well. So, if you recall, when we did our best books of 2024, we said we were planning to do a run through of Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run. So, here we are talking about Secret Origin, which, in terms of publication, is not the first story, but chronologically, for the sake of the story, it actually is the first one. And so, here I am, and here is Guest. Hello, Guest.
How's everybody doing? As he said, I hope everybody's fandoms are treating them well and having a good day and all that fun stuff.
New World under Latveria. But yeah, here we are. So, so real quick before we get into it, um, Guest, how did you get into Jeff Johns' Green Lantern run?
Well, I will be completely honest. I am not the best with authors. So whenever I try to get into new comic books, I typically ask, um, the people that are more knowledgeable than me to kind of put me onto arcs. And way back in the day, in a land far, far away, I did receive I guess I wouldn't call it an omnibus, but I did receive the whole story for the Blackest Night, and that kind of started me on my journey towards wanting to learn more about Green Lantern. And during a conversation with you, you pointed me in the directions of Jeff Johns, and I feel like it is a wonderful place to start. But especially for me, not like after getting the chance to read everything, getting to read everything and kind of get the origin story, um, and just kind of see characters in a different light than how I've originally seen them in. Because prior to this, the only Green Lantern knowledge I've had is from the animated series or getting curb stomped at the table by Green Lantern in the Versus deck. But the tyrannical deck, everybody. Don't let him lie to you and tell you it isn't. There's too much willpower in that deck, and I didn't have fun.
Your Honor, he is lying. Not only was there a respectful amount of willpower, he had fun. But he's lying, all right? He is lying. And just to hurt his feelings more, I was building that deck to my own needs, not what was actually going to work. All right. Aquaman had no business being in that deck, but I put him there. Neither did Martian Manhunter, but they had willpower, they drew, they recurred, and you know what? You weren't going to clear Mogo. All right.
Yeah, I think the words that I used were fairly accurate. Tyrannical.
Moga was not tyrannical. He's an adorable ball of love, and apparently is a woman. But yeah, that was a weird reveal later. But anyway, thank you for that. That's roughly almost similar to mine. I think you and I both share the fact that most of our Green Lantern info came from the TV show, with Jon Stewart as our primary Green Lantern, and later that animated movie First Flight, which is looking back on is actually is kind of boring. Um, Hal is kind of static throughout the entire movie,
hmm
but in Secret Origin, I don't think we have a static character here. We have an interesting character. We have a character that's fun, a character we would be invested in.
A lot of moving parts, and you would think that with the amount of characters that they're introducing and the amount of story that they're trying to introduce, that it would feel cluttered. But I did not feel like anybody stayed too long or left too early, and it does a good job of trying to you know get everything going.
Right, right. And I think what really also works is the fact that this does sort of, I'm not sure when it came out, but it did come out relatively later in his run. So we see a lot of seeds being planted that sort of explain things going forward. And it's important to note that Geoff Johns did not write everything involving Green Lantern. This takes his run pretty much goes Green Lantern Rebirth, which is spoiler alert, Hal Jordan's return from the dead after the events of I believe Zero Hour, and leading up to that. So in other words, Hal Jordan getting his ring and everything leading up to his death. And Geoff Johns didn't write. This all sort of takes place. Secret Origin takes place before that, and then everything else happens. His actual Green Lantern publication he didn't write, and then he brings him back in Rebirth, and then we go through the rest of the run.
Pretty much, supplying people with a good starting point. Or, like, I know you like to say that there is no true like jumping on point in comics, but it is nice for authors, especially if they have an original story to tell or wanting to start something original, to kind of go back to source material to give us, the reader, or especially us newbies, a good spot to start from. All right. Well, I feel like we should just kind of dive into it with every child's favorite thing, skipping school.
Yes, yes. Young Hal. This story is told um, through Hal's journal, and we talk about the pivotal moment of his life, which is ironically something he has in common with Bruce Wayne. Hey, the biggest moment of my life was when I didn't have parents. He's watching his father fly, and as you do, tragedy happens. But Hal talks about how much he loves watching his dad fly, how he would skip school or he would just be late to school. Um, he would bring his dad lunch. It really is sort of pointing out that his dad is his hero.
Yeah, and I'm about to say, what better hero can you have than like someone flying like jets? Like, I think that, just regardless, like, I mean, I know what Hal gets to do later, but that is some large shoes to fill.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one image I really do like of young Hal is just him holding his dad's jacket as he's watching him fly. And he meets young Carol Ferris, who also wants to fly, and it's a nice dynamic to see like early on like Hal's life doesn't really change that much. It pretty much is always going to be the same thing: him, Carol, and flying.
Yeah, I mean, I do like that we get, see that, Carol and Hal did originally have, some meetings and everything. Um, but I do like the symbolism, even if it's short lived. Because, literally a couple panels down, we get, a more horrified version of what's going on. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, the accident, and we see Hal just sort of one could say he's acting out, but rather he just really likes flying, and he doesn't quite seem to care the amount of stress he puts on his family after the death of his father. He still goes down to airways or to watch them fly, skipping school, stressing out his parents, or his mother, and his siblings. And we get the first look at Hal's two brothers, and I sort of noticed that his older brother is named Jack, his youngest is named Jim, but his name is Hal.
We were aiming for the triple J, apparently.
Yeah, I think it's also sort of to sell the idea he is the middle child in like every way possible. You don't even have a J in your name. Like, what are you?
No, I mean, I can definitely understand though, and like, and it does boil down because like going into this, like looking at what Hal is doing, you consider him to be a selfish, or a selfish middle child. Because I can definitely kind of vibe with how Jack's a little upset with him. Hey, you're freaking mom out. Mom's not giving you a lot to worry about, but you know you're not helping. You're about to say you are just kind of creating issues. Now, I do kind of understand, as I am not the middle child, I am the oldest, but certain words will have effect, and unfortunately, um, Hal took that instead of creative criticism on maybe getting his act together, decides just to dip. And uh, it just it kind of makes you like because it kind of puts a bad taste for Hal in your mouth, like because I don't I'm about to say you're leaving your mother and your two brothers alone to kind of fight for themselves.
Yeah, you definitely get the feeling that, she isn't over the death of her husband, and Hal is just sort of not getting the fact that, the rest of his family is also grieving in their own way. Jack is trying to sort of like step up and be the man of the house and try to hold everything together, and his Jim is just trying to like, can't we all just get along? Uh,
He's doing his best, like to keep them held together. But once again, Hal's like, well, I'm just gonna go join the military, because that's what mom would want. Like, and like I get it. Some people like it's built in their like it's in their bones to do what they want to do, but sometimes sacrificing for the greater good. Like you had all the time in the world to go make this decision. Well, I mean, I guess he was 18 when he did it, but I mean, you could have made sure your family was well off before kind of starting stuff.
yeah, or could have at least, I think, tried to talk to his mom,
Mm,
um,
kind of
help her get
explain.
what she's going through. Also, I noticed in the comic, the Armed Forces recruitment office, the address is 2814.
Wow. Mm.
Um, that's nice. So Hal joins the Air Force, and he's a cocky pilot. He is. The problem is he's got the skills to back it up.
I feel like there's only a certain amount of skills that someone can afford, like crashing $1 million jets. Like I get you're pushing them to the limit, but I don't know. I would have fired him. I'm about to say I would have fired him.
He's your classic Maverick, where at the end of the day, he sort of brings in more than he damages. He's like your House, your Harvey Specter from Suits, your um, almost sort of Ash Ketchum. Oh, Goku. Oh, Goku. Goku
Yeah, I was
is
about to say.
probably broken more, but push comes to shove, there's no one else you want to lead the fray.
Yeah. Well, I say he's a liability, but an effective liability, as we see in the bar. He can more than handle himself.
Yeah, it also shows that Hal's not a jerk. He's like, hey, look, look, look. I'm a cocky flyboy, but the lady clearly has said no.
Hmm. And I do remember you pointing out that we actually get to see John Stewart. Now, that's one of the Green Lanterns I have gotten a little bit more because being, a boy getting to watch Justice League Unlimited, or that was kind of who we got. We got John Stewart. So getting to see him here before he's all green and everything is really cool.
Yeah, it's also interesting because here it's the conversation John's having is implying he's leaving the Marines at some point. So like, you're the best shot we have. We'd hate to lose you. I'm like, oh, okay. Um, so there's that. But then of course, it's really a short moment just to see him there. It just shows that, hey, at some point Hal and John have met, and of course they fought.
What better way to make friends, though? We've seen how we make friends in comics and everything.
Yeah, look at Batman and Superman.
They best buds, and they've each probably sent one to the hospital, one more than the other, 100%.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
but
then we sort of get the tragedy aspect. It's like, Hal's been pretty good about himself, fight the good fight, whatnot. But then Jim comes down and gives the news that, hey, mom has pancreatic cancer. Um, but Hal can't go because not only does she not want him there as long as he's in the Air Force, the doctor said like she's in a very fragile state and anything could really cause a problem. So Hal is just sort of stuck, and Jim is devastated. Jim is devastated.
and and this is another part that kind of irks me about how instead of I completely understand the aspect that lying is wrong, but maybe a little white lie. His mother's pretty much on her deathbed. Um, would have been all right. I have left the military. I'm here to see mom. But Hal does not do anything half-assed, apparently. So we decide that it's better to 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 be kicked out of the military instead of just lying about it just to go be able to see your mom. I completely understand that lying is wrong, but I feel like this is one of those times where you would have been able to keep your job and go see your mom. And it's not like he was even able to do much once he got there.
Yeah. I do like, as much as I sort of hate it, like how, to Hal's credit, he doesn't like lying to his mom, apparently. Um, but we see this sort of like huge falling out moment, like a bigger falling out before, um, that we had saw before, when Jack confronts Hal, like he's like, "You killed mom, all right? You kept doing all that stuff, and she heard about it. It stressed her out, and he sort of lays into him like, I had to step up when dad died. I had to drop out of college. I came home to look after mom. All right. And what did you do? You did exactly what you wanted to do. And like, I like that sort of drew Jack to look unlikable, because he does look unlikable in this comic, but he has a
he
point.
he's making nothing but straight points. And unfortunately, I understand that stress plays a viable stress can affect how how your health works. So to pretty much call him out and say, "Hey, you killed mom because you were out there gallivanting in jets and everything. This is your fault." I feel is a little too much, but I can't tell him he's wrong. Like you stressed mom out. She was already bad. You ran away, so it was up to me. I had to drop out. I had to go. He dropped out of college to be able to support mom, and I believe the younger brother's name was Jim. And like I'd harbor some resentment. It would be a very hard bridge to mend, and to have you show up, you know out of the blue after all this has happened, you deserve to get punched. I'm sorry. Like the fact that he didn't, I'll give it, I'll give him, he held his anger in pretty well.
Then all of a sudden we stop being this drama that could almost feel like a scene from Top Gun with Tom Cruise, to space with Abin Sur on Izamolt saying like, you know what, you guys are gonna talk. You guys are gonna talk.
Hmm. And I will say that there's a lot of panels in the series that I enjoyed, but I've never seen Abensor be so intimidating as that last frame of that first issue. Um, he's like, we're gonna talk, Atrocitus. Uh, you're gonna tell me everything you know about the Blackest Night, and yeah.
I like when they say you do not get to choose when you talk to me and when you do not. I was like, oh man.
I'll say, yeah, I am here.
I hate to tell you guys this, but I'm Abin Sur. You may not know what that means, but I'm pretty sure you know that when I ask something, I get an answer, right?
Darn right.
Also, remember, the bosses don't know I'm here.
Uh,
um,
that means that I can be as violent as I want to be. I'm gonna let y'all know that.
but I also have a spotless record, so no one's gonna know it was me.
Mhm.
But he's there to find out from Atrocitus about these prophecies, and the next time we see Alvin Sword, he's has a ship, and he does not look relaxed. This is not a day trip for him, apparently.
I'm about to say the Green Lanterns do not seem like the people to get to just go have fun. um, so
Um,
I'm about to say it's he's a man on a mission. I could say that much.
yeah, and now he's just seems sort of a bit shaken. The person he's in contact with Zach, like, so why are you flying a ship? Like you know we're Green Lanterns, right? Like this ring can do like what's the word? Anything. Um he's like, I can't trust my ring right now because it's been foretold my ring will fail me when I need it most. I'm like, oh, okay. And the person who's talking is like, you know what? That doesn't sounds pretty stupid. Sounds pretty stupid, Ivan.
I'm just saying, uh, the best way to get a prophecy to come true.
It's to believe it. Um, the person he's talking to is like, look, I even if I am wary of this, of how stupid this is, all right, you do know if you find something concrete, need backup, the Guardians aren't going to stop me. I will be right there. I'm your ride or die man. All right,
Mhm.
all right. This person sounds like he would never be a problem for anyone. All
Ever,
right,
never ever. But he sounds like a chill dude.
no one here has a problematic mustache.
But speaking of problematic, we still
Uh,
have racism.
Yes, yes. So Hal has been discharged, dishonorably discharged from the Air Force, and now he's just a mechanic. He has a friend, um, Tom Kalmaku. I've butchered that name. I'm sure I have. But Hal is making friends, and Hal's sort of reflect the fact, maybe was he doesn't remember his mechanics when he was a pilot, but he's pretty sure he didn't treat them as bad as Frank Leminski, who starts calling Tom Pie Face. And yes, people, Tom is Asian.
Unfortunately, I had never knew that Eskimo slurs were a thing, and yeah, but how dishes out as good as he gets, though.
Yeah,
Um,
you're pretty smart for a Polak, Leminski.
I, I'm always learning in comics. Like there's just times when and I'm pretty sure that there's like there's times where they've just gone over my head because when I tell you when I first read that, I was like, is he calling him a clown? Like it I literally had to read the explanation from Hal to understand what he was doing.
um, one fun little thing is well, Tom is like, look, ignore Frank. He's an idiot, and I have better things to do than deal with idiots, which points to Tom. We see a plane being brought in, pretty much all just scrap at this point, that Hal's dad took him in the first time. Nothing important really comes from that, so much the fact that Hal just realizes he needs to get back in the air. He goes to talk to the owner of the owner who used to be a friend of his dad, along with Carol's dad. He said, "Look, Hal, I can't let you in the sky. You are that big a liability. We can't let people dishonorably discharged into the air." And he also feels that he has to sell the company to Ferris Air. And here comes, good Lord, Carol Ferris.
God dang! I'll say I will say that full panel it did its job.
They knew what they were doing.
They sure did.
Carol pretty much is operating on the idea that, hey, I'm here acting on behalf of my father. He's off, golfing or whatever. It's going to be like a running thing here that Carol's dad seems to be unavailable at this time.
Getting to enjoy life as Hal has noticed that with losing both his parents, he's a little miffed about that because he's still under the impression that he doesn't have parents, and he's under the impression that her father took that away from him.
Yeah.
And just to be able to, it's kind of like hearing, or like your enemies out there just having a ball, and you're just sitting here mad, not having a good time at all.
And you would see the house sort of like personified, like, everything bad in my life is because of Carol's dad. Like,
Hmm.
had it not been for him, my dad would still be alive. Mom wouldn't be stressed out. I could have joined the Air Force and it wouldn't be that big a deal. I wouldn't have to be acting like whatever Jack said didn't have some truth to it. But whatever, whatever, whatever. Um, then we cut to back to space. Abensur being harassed by Atrocitus. Like, hey man, what I got a question. Like you don't look good. Um why aren't you using your ring, man? What's going on? What's going on?
Uh, yeah, you remember when I said that it's gonna fail you, and that's the moment that you need it the most. But once again, when I go, and it's just gonna happen almost twice per issue. These panels, because we have Atrocitus talking about fear and that he's afraid, and he's afraid of his own death, and we get to actually see the Green Lantern Corps, or not the Green Lantern Corps, the Yellow Lantern Corps symbol in his eyes, and I just love seeing that.
I also like Abensur's not using his ring to fly because he's afraid it'll fail, but he's using his ring to hold Atrocitus.
Because there's no way it's gonna fail if he's holding a he said it's gonna fail. There's no way it fails twice. Like, come on.
Uh, Atrocitus breaks out. Ivan tries to put the business on him, but yeah, it don't work. It don't work, fam. It don't. It don't. Atrocitus breaks out. Abensur's like, well, I guess this is where my canon event happens. He
Hmm.
tells his ring to send a message to Sinestro because a rookie can't handle what's about to come. And as you do, as is all comic book stories tell us, Abensur's ring pulls Hal into to him and is like, so I'm gonna need you to do me a solid, Earthman, and take this ring. Be a pal. Don't let them probe me.
Uh, like, please. You know what? Do you have bombs here? Can you? I just don't let them. And just like in we're suiting up immediately, and I did not notice my first time reading until I went back and was reading or looking through the panels again. That I thought a nice little thing is for Hal's suit the first time it kind of takes over him. He doesn't get the core symbol on it, which I thought was a really nice detail.
Right. It's become sort of an ongoing thing that for rookie lanterns, they don't get their proper lantern on their chest until they go through basic training. So this was always going to happen, and Hal gets effectively drafted, which is always like the weirdest part of the Green Lantern Corps. It's like this isn't a no. There's no volunteering here. This is purely draft, purely draft.
But the first thing that we're gonna do, being we can fly now, is we're gonna try to race jets. Like, I feel like that's the fun thing to do. There's nothing that could go wrong with racing jets.
Especially when it's Frank Leminski you're showing up,
Hmm.
who's also talking smack about he's apparently just gonna take Carol to Pound Town.
Which we find out that, and she makes it apparent. Her, she nails it home. She does not date employees.
Yeah, it's like her mantra. Like, my father is golfing and I don't date employees. My father is golfing and I don't date employees. Namaste.
Where's your father golfing, Carol? Just he everywhere. He's golfing everywhere.
So Hal helps Frank, still damages the plane because he's Hal. And as the ring is about to sort of expose him, it puts a mask over his face, which I thought was really cool. What's also really fun is that Tom still recognizes Hal, which I think is just a fun bit. Some people are like, it's no, that's my friend. I know that that's Hal. I'm sure Jimmy Olsen did it with Superman. Like, that's Clark. Like,
Hmm.
that's Clark.
He just doesn't have glasses on. Like,
That's the funniest thing to me. And of course, there's like a little cute moment where Carol trips over something she should clearly be able to see and falls into Hal's
it's
arms.
red. Like,
It's like, oh, his eyes, her eyes. But then, of course, Hector Hammond comes in like, hey, you want to get your hands off my girl? I'm like, why do you just look terrible?
Every couple needs a cock blocker, apparently.
And as we point out, he looks a lot like Tony Stark's dad.
And it sucks because he, Tony Stark's dad pulls it off a lot better. I look at him and I'm like, that's a working man. I look at Hector and I'm like, I think you should stay away from my children, Hector. I'm like, I feel like you should be not within a certain amount of range of this school. And I know that that's not how they intended to draw him, but as I said, he reminds me of a humanoid version of Mortimer Mouse.
Oh god, now I can only imagine with the Mortimer Mouse voice. Hey there! Three hands off my girl?
Mortimer, no, leave Minnie alone.
Oh, Hal flies off. Hector makes another move on Carol. Carol makes it clear, I don't date employees. We had one dinner. I'm not your girlfriend. I'm like, Hector, you had one date. No, Hector, you gotta calm down, man. You gotta. Look. Carol's a long game kind of gal. All right, you gotta put in work here.
hmm but I do kind of like that, we get to see that, yeah, Hal has, he ran off, but he does come back to make sure that, one, Abinster hasn't been, turned to a cinder block. But we get to see him bury him, showing that, like, he doesn't care that he's an alien. Like, he just wants the fact, he's respectful enough to make sure that he is buried. And I think that does show a bit to his character. He's not like, oh, I need to call the U.S. government or something like that. He's like, nah, we're gonna do this.
Yeah, he points out that like whoever he was a soldier or an officer, and Hal is a was a decorated member of the Air Force. There's a sort of camaraderie there, which has sort of been a big theme with a couple of the Green Lanterns. Alan Scott was in World War I, I think, or World War II. It depends on the history. I'm not gonna lie. Hal Jordan in the Air Force, John Stewart a Marine, Guy Gardner a cop. Um,
So pretty much like, signs of camaraderie and like authority seem to be what happens with Green Lanterns, given that they are like interdimensional, well, not, I guess interdimensional, like galactic space cops. It does seem that they would try to, you need a little bit of it. I don't know a lot of people's backgrounds, but it just seemed to be a prerequisite for you to be able to hold your own.
yeah, I think there definitely are some outliers. Well, after Guy, Kyle Rayner is an artist. Jessica Cruz is a shut in with anxiety.
She is
Simon,
still probably one of my favorite designs, though. I think.
yes.
Am I mistaken? And is that the one from Far Sector,
No,
or is that the one after that one?
uh, before Far Sector. Simon Boz was a car thief. That was a weird part. We'll meet both Simon and Jessica and Jeff Johns's run, so we'll
Huh?
get to them soon enough. And Joe Mulane is Far Sector.
Got you. I'd really enjoy. I have not got to read any of it, but they had really cool panels that I've got to see.
She was a cop too.
Hmm.
Um, but anyway, Hal also while investigating, he finds the lantern, and the lantern goes like, "Hey man, guess what?
Going to
You know
boot
what
camp.
hyperspace is?"
We going straight to boot camp with a whole bunch of other green folk and a lot of yellow.
Yeah, it's like the opposite of the Emerald City.
Yeah.
Welcome to Goldenrod City. So he arrives there. We see a whole bunch of different lanterns, some of which matter, most of which don't matter. It doesn't matter. And then we meet the man, the myth, the legend, the lantern who's
Oh,
done no wrong, Kilowog.
I'm telling you, ever since I saw him, I was like, I feel like this is a guy I can get a beer with. I feel like this is the guy I want in a fight.
Kilowog's like, yeah. He's like I love Kilowog because he's always like one part drill sergeant, one point like the chillest dude you meet when we're not drill sergeanting.
Hmm.
Like training's over. All right, let's go get a beer, guys. Let's go get a beer. Uh,
And
uh,
I do like that, Hal sticks to his guns landing here with Kilowog and the rest of the trainees, and I do like that Kilowog puts him on his ass, and nice landing poozer, and in true Hal format, Hal takes a swing at Kilowog. Unfortunately for him, though, Kilowog has been looking for an example in these rookies all day, all day, yo.
I do love that. I really do. Kilowog is just like, look, I've been waiting for one of you all day.
Yeah, the
You got
drill
sp-
sergeant, yeah.
you got spirit. I need one of those here to break. I also like that Hal is in this totally alien environment. He's like, wait, this is boot camp. I know exactly who this is. And he's just like, I know exactly what to do.
And you know what they really like you to do at boot camp? Disrespect authority. I'ma do it. But in true boot camp and military fashion, the U.S. got to stick their noses in everything.
Uh,
So yeah,
yeah, they find Avensur's ship, and they do U.S. government things, but sadly, they all some of them find Atrocitus in the water. And to be
yeah,
fair, this is beyond polluting the water hole, Atrocitus. Like you're making the water boil.
yeah. I mean but that's on them. I just feel that perhaps as a soldier, I understand my job is to follow orders, but when I step in the lake and the water is boiling, obviously I'm not supposed to be in that lake anymore. And Atrocitus also agrees that I'm not supposed to be in that lake anymore, but in a more final way.
And from Atrocitus' perspective, you need to only be in this lake from now on. um, but Hal's boot camp journey is what it is. He's facing a lot of discrimination because he's from Earth. He's a human.
We
Uh,
don't like humans, apparently.
well, if you yeah, and they also apparently we're the boonies.
It's the shadowy place, most likely. And given the stuff that we've had to deal with on Earth, I'd say we're probably without a Green Lantern for a long time. See here, yellow is just not the color for Green Lanterns, apparently, though.
I do like that Hal just goes, why?
Yeah. And looking at these panels again, because I remember we originally had the question. Those I believe those are Tomar Ray's pupils, because we can see when he's saying that Hal is wearing Abinsur's ring. Because I've noticed that most people, when they have their mask on, their pupils are gone. But yeah, they're right there. I don't know if that was intentional, but yeah, like because look, immediately in the next panel, I don't know if we're just not close enough to see, but yeah, we can definitely see Tomar Ray's pupils.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and Tomar wants to take an interest in Hal because, well, that's Abin's ring, which also lets us know Abin Sur was a big deal. And he says, like, I can't access his ring log, so how'd he die? Like his ship crashed. Like, why would he need a ship? It's like, oh, that's right. Old Abin been listening to the prophecies again, been obsessed with doomsday prophecies, and it made him
Seal
paranoid.
numbers. Just out there raving in the galaxy, trying to take Atrocitus to places.
The Blackest Night's coming. The Blackest Night's coming. It's gonna be a big thing. All right. Some will call it the last great DC event, but it's coming. It's coming.
I do like that this book is huge, though, because
Oh, the Book
as
of
a
O is just one giant book. It's not like a metaphor. It's not like no. This is it's a giant book.
I just feel like the text might be a little too big. I feel like y'all can squeeze a lot in these pages. Maybe if you'll, shrink some of these pictures.
Or it might be too small. Like I don't know.
Hmm.
But They mentioned that how Ivan died was he felt fear, and yeah, lanterns can't feel fear. And then we get basically montages of Hal's training, which I think is good. We don't need to spend all day here. It's knowing every single step. Hal doesn't seem to want to fly around asteroids. He wants to fly through them. He's
Because
determined that he can, use his ring on Yellow.
I do like that Kilowog's just like, huh, why not? The you can try. You're not gonna do it, but I mean, who am I to stop you?
Bless his heart. You'll be an example for the rookies. Like you see how it doesn't work on Yellow kids. There you go.
Yeah.
Uh, but he is showing promise, and at the end of it all, um, he's inducted in the Green Lantern Corps. He says the oath in a better format than we did in the beginning. If for no other reason than when they say it, like these green letters show up to emphasize what's going on.
In all honesty, though, we can't hear them. They could be like messing it up as much as we are. They just have text.
Yeah, true. Everything's better with text boxes. And after Hal gives that out, it says the oath and is inducted. We find that someone's asking, talking to, I guess, the Guardians, and like, hey, why wasn't I informed of this going of what happened? And they say, well, it's because you were fighting the Manhunters, and we didn't want to divert your focus, which he finds offensive.
hmm Uh, have I ever lost my focus?
Uh,
Eh, and once again, like as someone coming from different media and not having much or dabbled in Green Lanterns much, Sinestro was always the bad guy for me. So seeing him in his Green Lantern outfit for in this, I was like, oh, okay, he was a Green Lantern and apparently like a great Green Lantern, or some may say the best.
it's also interesting just to see this take on Sinestro. At least from this point, Sinestro's only motivation is, hey, what happened to my friend?
hmm
Yeah, like, so why didn't anybody tell me that my friend, possibly my only friend, died? Like, why do you tell me this? And he's like, well, you can call me Ganthet. I'm like, that's not what I asked, but okay. Um,
hmm
so I thought you guys didn't have names. Well, look, you need to know who to talk to, right? You can't just call Guardians. I'm like, well, it's what I've been doing all this time before, but whatever, fine, fine, whatever. Uh, you can call me Ganthet, and you can go talk to this new Earth Lantern, this new guy. You might like him or not. I don't care. Just go.
you should go there though.
And so we meet him, or he's on his way to Earth, and
In true mad scientist, action. We have Hector out here doing stuff that Hector's not supposed to be doing. No lab safety at all. He skipped the procedures and unfortunately decides to pay for it in the most horrific way.
this is a trait of all super geniuses. They all of a sudden just stop ignoring lab procedures. Lex Luthor, despite his intelligence, always handles kryptonite with his bare hands. It's still radioactive, Lex. It's
He's
still.
bald. What else does he have to lose?
um, so when investigating the ship, the accident happens, and he starts hearing people's opinions of him. And sadly for Hector, none of these are good. I actually felt kind of bad for Hector here.
No one should be forced to hear what other people think of them without them actively saying it.
Haman's so creepy. Looks like he's all right. Too bad.
You
That
just
mustache makes him look like a pedophile.
you
He's a
don't
loser.
you don't see the text box because they got rid of it, but it says he looks like Mortimer Mouse somewhere back there, and it's just me. I wasn't supposed to be there, but
Terrible taste in suits. He's always calling Carol Ferris like a stalker. And worse, his breath is terrible.
God dang. And it might have, maybe it just wasn't the day to have sauerkraut on his hot dog at lunch. And unfortunately, no mouthwash in the backpack.
Yeah. So Hector causes an accident, but we don't have to pay attention to that right now. Hal is meeting his friend Tom, who, as we pointed out, knew that was Hal the whole time. gets to sort of see everything going on here. I'm like, oh,
Hmm.
okay. And then he finds out that all the other pilots have left Ferris Air.
But this is okay because this is our golden opportunity. Because what better way to show that you mean something to the company by going straight to your boss's office while she's been crying and yelling at her? That is the best way to do stuff, and I won't be told different. Because how is the an excellent example for anybody when they want to use tact?
He's like, I want to talk to you, Dad. I want to tell what I want to tell him for years. And I like how Carol just goes like, yeah, it's not happening.
He's golfing, and I don't date employees.
I also love that Carol is not intimidated by anybody at this place. Um,
Well, there's only like two people at this place now, so it's a very short list.
yeah, yeah. But there's like this argument going on between the two of them. Like, hey, they're leaving. It's an argument. It's about, hey, what your dad did, how he cuts corners. Like, you don't know anything about my father. Well, he's not here, so I don't know. And he goes off. Carol decides, like, hey, do you want to fly again?
I can fly. What was that?
Hal's like, I do want to fly, but not for you. Carol's like, where else are you gonna go? Where are you gonna
No one's gonna hire you. I'm being nice by saying please.
go? All right. Then Carol sort of lets the guard look, I need a pilot. You need someone who will let you fly. All right. We're scraping at the bottom of the barrel here.
Mhm.
Also, you're hot. I'm hot. I don't date employees.
And my father's golfing.
uh,
Well, then we get to cut back to what I had to see it twice, and I don't know how I missed it the first time. Atrocitus is having a barbecue. Unfortunately, the barbecue consists of all the soldiers that were in the panel the first time, and I didn't recognize that they were soldiers. I thought he just found something out there. And then I saw the human skulls, and I'm like, man, I need to get my eyes checked. He's out here eating people.
yeah, this also looks this this reminds me of a scene from Gravity Falls.
Oh, first off, cannibalism and Atrocitus should not remind you of Gravity Falls.
Have you seen Gravity Falls? It
I
kind of
have.
it kind of works.
This is true. This is true.
We just need
But
some whistling in the background and Bill's and a triangle to show up, claiming he's a pyramid.
that was a wild set of episodes. I do have the Book of Bill, and it
So
was. Oh, go ahead. I
no,
fault.
you go ahead. You go ahead.
I did like the fact that, and once again, this was all because of reading Blackest Night, that I was familiar with the whole kind of color spectrum of different cores that they've had. We actually get to see the Red Lantern Oath in the panels.
Yeah, I do love that. Also, I'm trying to figure out what he's eating, but at the same time, I don't want to know what he's eating. I don't want to know who he's eating.
Looking at this again, it looks like there's something written on that skull in the blood.
Yes, it is William Hand.
Oh,
Yeah.
does this have anything that I should know? Uh,
Well, effectively, Atrocitus is effectively using, I guess, his people's blood magic to find out. He's also trying to make the Blackest Night happen. He asks for the name of the being that will birth the Black, and his name will be William Hand. Which I guess it's not all gobbledygook after all. I guess if you get the right amount of corpses, right fire going, and you say the words, and I guess, take care of your serrated teeth, you can find anything out.
I know I made that sound like I didn't know what was going on, guys. But I read this. I promise you.
So, so Hal's back in the air, living his best life, and as it does when Hal Jordan's trying to live his best life, a plane
It's not.
explodes.
You can't. It's not allowed. But we get to see another cool, panel of Sinestro just being like, "You're wasting time. Why are you flying around? Do you not have a ring? Do you not
Did
know how your ring works? I know you don't have one of these."
Did you lose your ring? I swear. How do you you humans? You Earthers, all right, all right. Um, I do like that how Ash like, hey, so asks ring like, hey, can you fix my plane? Serge goes like, why are you asking your ring if it can fix your plane? No, you should ask if you can fix your plane.
You are a means to an end.
um, Hal throws like a missile at him, and Hal goes like, huh, okay. Sinestro goes like, huh, okay. All right, your constructs are weak. You know, they're laced with anger, and although the Guardians believe fear creates cracks in our willpower, anger will distort it. Anger will make it unfocused, and a Green Lantern needs to be focused. I like this bit because it reminds me a bit of the Jedi. Like, hey, look, all these negative emotions can affect your focus. It will make you worse in the long run. And the whole idea for a Green Lantern is like, you have to control your emotions and focus.
And he
There's
has an
nothing you can't do.
exactly, and the perfect example, which put me in straight awe, is we see Sinestro reassemble an exploded jet piece by piece into a perfect working model. And we get to, and we get to see that it does still fly because, how, jumps in it, and he's like, why are you doing this? You don't where you need training. Why are you talk to me, rookie? Come on.
I was like, I still got to go back to my job.
This is your job.
And so he gets down there, but then Hector has, I guess, found a tarp to put on as he
It's
tries to talk to Carol. And I guess now's the time he makes his move. You know, naked, distraught, borderline catatonic, hovering in the air.
mm, we've all seen that what was that, Mel Gibson, What Women Want. So yeah, he's got the right idea, but unfortunately goes about the wrong way.
He's reading everybody's minds, like, oh my God, Hal Jordan's Green Lantern. Oh no, I just found that out. Then he goes like, oh my God, you and Carol. Um, he's gonna find out a lot. But before we get to that, we then cut to the hand mortuary and one of the creepiest scenes in the entire story.
It- yeah, because and once again, yeah, it's going to happen a lot because I like pointing them out because I feel special that I noticed it, and 9 times out of 10, I'm the one being told that stuff is there. We get to see the Black Lantern symbol on the hand mortuary panel, and I thought that was really cool because it's kind of like littered everywhere. But yeah, William's weird. He likes touching dead bodies, and I don't know how I feel about him. Even his mom comes in there like, you're why can't you be a good Christian like your brothers? Like, we have a mortuary. We're trying to be respectful of the dead. I can't have you in here touching the dead bodies.
I also like this idea of William Hand having trouble. Like, I guess he's also the middle child.
Unfortunately, so and he looks so sad because like I feel like this is another moth situation. The moth goes to a light bulb and he knows that that's the moon. It's him, and this feels right to William. Unfortunately, it is not the right thing to do, and he just looks so sad.
I know I shouldn't want to touch the dead bodies, but I do. I'm
That's
like,
right.
look, sir, this is a Wendy's.
I just need somebody to talk to.
Again, sir, this is a Wendy's. All I ask is, did you want any ketchup? All right.
But then we cut back to Hector being weird again, which is going to be a reoccurring thing of him reading minds and making things explode.
Hector's also going to look worse the further down the line the story goes. He's actually going to look worse.
That is unfortunate for him because he's already looking pretty rough. And we're throwing jets at people,
Yeah.
and Hal's doing his best to just kind of stay in character. He's got to save Carol and everything, but it's okay. We don't need Hal. We have the best Green Lantern in this sector, who's not supposed to be here.
He just said, "Hey, Ring, cut off his air supply."
which I want you to know. I've seen. I'm a big X-Men person. I've never considered this. I've never considered the idea of stopping telepaths is just make it to where they can't breathe. If they passed out, they can't do anything. But it's okay. I don't have to think because we have Sinestro here to think for us.
Sinestro would agree with that statement.
Exactly. And he wants to drive it home because he didn't even say that Hector was a threat. He is a rudimentary telepath, and he is mad that Hal can't solve these issues on his own.
You can't beat a Route 1 Rattata. That's what I'm saying here. All right. And
You
you
have
want to be a gym leader?
you have a gun, and you couldn't stop this. Rookies.
I'd have had this planet running smooth in less than 24 hours.
I'm just beginning to think that the artist cannot draw Sinestro in a bad frame because frame by frame by frame, I've seen Sinestro and I'm like, that guy's cool. Stories about this guy, right?
So Atrocitus breaks into a place called Edder's Guns or Eater's Guns. I think it's Edder's. And he fashions something that will take him to William Hand. Well, also apparently will contain the power of the black for his journey home. I'm not sure how I feel about that statement.
Not during Black History Month. I'm sorry, bud. You can't do this.
You
We don't
can't.
have to be contained.
Um, so Sinestro gives a rundown to how, like, exactly like how bad he is at this. Like, so why are you bad at this?
I I had we don't know how long. So it's the way it shows. It looks like he was on Oa for like a day, and they were like, "Yeah, go defend the Earth or whatever." So I don't know because they did not tell us the exact time frame of it. But I'd throw it. I'd be like, "Hey, like I've been a cop for a day." But it's okay. We need to get to Abin grave, and once we get there, we get the cool little, two-ring communication. He's like, "All right, cool. The adult is here."
Um, Before that, there's this nice little moment where Sinatra like, so exactly what did they teach you? Kilowog taught me how to ring sling, like he did that poorly. Salic had me test the charging limitations. His tests are worthless when faced with the reality of a dead ring. And everyone told me about the yellow impurity. Yeah, no one cares. Like, of course, no one can actually tell me why or what that is. It doesn't make any sense. Yellow. And Sinatra's like, I've been wondering the same thing. Look at you. You finally impressed me. Either way, shut up. Let's keep going. Uh, and he reveals that Abensur was not just his friend, but his mentor. And Sinestro sort of almost bonds with Hal a bit. Like, hey, look, I was like you, an individual thinker. I don't quite do the whole team thing. All right. But you're still stupid. I just want to hammer this home here. All right.
But you make good points, rookie.
And then the
Always ask
message comes
why.
in. The message comes in. It's like, hey, Sinestro, Sinestro, my friend, my bro, I'm dead. I done goofed.
Whoops.
All right. Maybe had I lost total faith in my ring, I should have used it to hold Atrocitus. But,
Did I tell you I was
but
in a ship?
so anyway, I've learned the secrets of life, and to understand the severity of my mission is to understand the greatest tragedies that ever befallen the universe. A crime so horrendous that yeah, it's almost a myth. Almost a myth. All right, so before the cool Green Lanterns and these cool suits, like look at these cool suits, Sinestro. They were
Mm.
cool. The Guardians used what was called the Manhunters. All right, artificial soldiers, and for eons they maintained order until they massacred Sector 666. um,
Obviously, he didn't learn from Tony what happens when you make uh, semi-sentient robots that can make decisions for themselves.
so they slaughtered that, and
Oops.
yeah, here we are. And so those the five survivors became the five inversions, the terrorist cell, who want to kill the Guardians, and they've got rituals and sacrifices, and they saw the darkness, the black so devoid of life, even the Guardians of Light couldn't penetrate it, and they seek to take this darkness for themselves. And it was foretold. That was a catchphrase for me for a while. It was that power. It was foretold that power will be found on Earth, the boonies of space, and I need you to trust me, Sinestro. Here, all right, you've got to stop them from finding whatever horrible power that is in Hickville, in the Hickville solar system. All right, all right. This is the Minnesota of space. Trust me. You go to Minnesota, you understand what's going on here. uh, and and I was sort of like this. I have a question. Did you see another body? There was no. So he just said he was transporting a prisoner. All right. So question: did you see the other body? No.
I am. I'm seeing this at the same time you are. We couldn't get this message until we were both here, buddy. There was not another body here. That's a problem. That is a problem.
All right. So then we cut to a funeral. Well, at least, and well, one should be respectful and quiet, especially when you're hosting it. It's also a business. It'd be really nice if your son wasn't going around to feel up. Oh my God, it's a black woman.
Oh God.
This is the month for this. This is the month for this.
God dang. William, I get it. I understand, but
Don't
no.
say you get it. Don't say you get it. We already had Hector Hamad here earlier. We don't say.
Well, not that I get what he is doing, as in like I understand why he is doing it. Guys, I am not into necrophilia. I'm putting that out here now. It is not a thing.
I might have to get a new guest. But luckily, even Atrocitus has lines in the sand. He's like, "What are you doing?
Get out of here. That's wrong.
You're the one I gotta find. Oh God, I gotta find a creep. Okay."
But it is okay because we have Sinestro and his guest coming to save the day and to save William the Weirdo from doing anything else. Now, unfortunately, Atrocitus has a plan for our Green Lantern buddies.
Well, you can't just be a giant red naked man with serrated teeth and not have a backup plan.
So, the same device that our pal Atrocitus has made has found a way to, not just sap up the darkness that he's chasing after William for, it also drains the Green Lantern rings and kind of renders our guys useless for a little bit.
Yes, Sinestro's back in his imp costume, looking
Which
like
is
an
what I
imp.
was introduced to him in, and I always thought I was like, this guy is a little weird because he just looks like a very angry elf. But once again, this artist has managed to make it even that. I'm like, hey, he's about to throw hands. Like,
So now we see this epic. Well, epic is a strong word, but we watched. I guess whatever Sinestro's people wear. A pilot fight a giant red naked man in front of the graves of Hal's parents, which William is hiding behind.
it is so unfortunate, but it's okay. Hal doesn't notice, not just yet. uh,
um, this is
but
probably, I think, the best bit of like internal dialogue from Hal over this whole thing. It talks about no one else had to watch their father die in front of their eyes. That's what he thought most of his life. Like he sort of thought he was alone. Um, it This is sort of like the first time where he feels that someone gets him, and it's Sinestro of all people.
eh,
Uh,
which is about, and I feel like all superheroes need therapy. But so, but it is nice to see that he does kind of have. I'm not going to say a father figure, but kind of like an elder to look to. Like this version of Sinestro seems to be more keen on the brute honesty, but I'm going to teach you and we're going to get through this type situation. And I do feel that that is something that Hal needs to develop more as a character because he is a very headstrong individual. And I'm pretty sure that once we read more of it, once he realizes how to do both, be headstrong and strategic, we can see a good hero evolve from that.
Yeah, and Atrasis sees William Hand, who has still refused to leave, but
I
paralyzed with fear.
I don't know how I'm. Where do I run? Like,
Well, you see where the giant red naked man is? You run in the opposite direction of him. Um, but Atrasis goes like, William Hand, your insides hold the power that will destroy the guardians of the universe. You are the incubator of death to all. William's like, really? Oh, that's kind of hot. um, but Sinatra's like, okay, all right, so let's fall back here. There's not a sign of fear here. Standing in the line of fire with a drained powering, however, is a sign of stupidity.
Mhm.
And he's like, "You should be dead." And he's like, "You're not supposed to tell me that."
So I'm gonna pull my power battery out of this pocket dimension. Surely Kilowog taught them how to make pocket dimensions. Like, there's no way that they'd not do that, right?
Yep. He's like, Hal's like, "I keep mine in my locker." So it's like, "Oh my god."
I'll die. No, he's gonna die. I'm gonna make it out of this.
So it's like you've redefined the word careless. All right. Like Superman doesn't keep his cost. Like Clark, when Clark goes to work at the Daily Planet, he doesn't put his Superman costume in his desk.
And even if he did, I trust that he is fast enough to swap into it. Barry Allen can put his suit anywhere on planet Earth, and I'd still be like, it makes sense. It'll take him like what, minute to change? You have to fly back to your locker to get your charging battery.
No, think about it, he has to fly to get his charger. Think about
Oh,
that.
you're right. My fault. He has to jog back to get his charge.
He has to call a lift to go get his ring.
But it's okay. Sinestro comes prepared.
I mean, do you know how many superheroes with secret identities would love to have a pocket dimension to keep their suits?
I blame. You know what? This will be the few times I blame Kilowog. It's his fault. He should have taught him.
Now, to be fair, according to Sinestro, Salak should have told him about it.
Oh, you are correct. I am wrong. So Kilowog, I'm not a poozer. I promise.
Kilowog once again stays winning. So William falls into a grave, which is, I guess, what he secretly wants. I only want to see how cold they were. I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
that that if he made Atrocitus great character there for a second.
That'd be wise. Like, I'm sorry, what?
No, you. I'm the demon. Okay.
It's like, you know what? I'm going home.
Yeah. But it's okay. Our boys are gonna take him home because
Yep.
instead of paying attention to the two green guys behind him, he's trying to shoot a guy in a grave.
Yeah. I do like the amount of overall police brutality that Sinestro and Hal just sort of like wailing on Atrocitus. But
I have not.
to be fair, without a ring, he does just kind of kill them.
Yeah. So it. I can't even call it police brutality. They tried restraining him. They tried that. He broke out of the restraints. He took away their weapons. We're gonna have to put this guy down just a little bit.
I like how Sinners like stop with the hands and force spheres. Open up your mind and strengthen those constructs. Like make something. Let go of your anger.
And
And
do something important.
Atrocitus calls him a rookie as he throws him.
I want you to know there's nothing more frightening than the villain realizing that he is fighting a rookie.
He's like, I know you, Sinestro. I know you. And our prophecy says you're the greatest of them all. They say if anyone is to oppose our revenge, it is you.
But
But they
I'm
also say you have a weakness. Like all the Guardians terrorists, I will bathe in your blood, Great One. And Hal, having seen, I guess, the graves of his parents, goes, no, and takes the yellow forklift. Is that a forklift? No,
yeah,
it's not.
that is a yellow forklift.
I don't think it's a forklift. But
Or my fault. No, my fault. I was saying it is a scoop. God, I know what this word is. Nope, not smart enough.
I'm
Regardless,
going
he
to
takes.
I'm going to date myself and say these are the he takes the yellow dragon, which is what they call the construction equipment in Once Upon a Forest,
You know what? Sure.
and he rams a jet into it because that's what Hal does. He crashes jets into things.
It's an excavator. And no, I
Oh,
didn't Google that, guys. No way. Um,
and then Sinestro summons Kilowog.
because he needs a strong construct. There's no what stronger construct is there?
Sinestro ends with calling him a poozer in the most silent way possible.
You know what? Sure.
He calls it the poozer maneuver.
Hmm. You know what? I vibe with it.
Yeah. So William comes to and like takes the weapon, hides it, and runs off.
And because he wants to be a problem later.
It's okay. It'll be a long time. We probably will never see William Hand again. We probably will never see him again. Sinestro asks, hey, Hal asks what did the Trosses want with him. It's like, well, they gain power through the blood of others. They deem doorways beings they believe are tied to the greater fabric of universal power. Utter nonsense.
Mm,
And Halax, did you see what I did? Like, what did you? I used the ring against yellow. Snap's like, no, you
sure. Uh-huh. All
didn't.
right, kid.
No, like you didn't. You really didn't. And then Hal says the bad word that his ring can't translate.
I'm gonna say that that was a strategic move on the ring because I feel like whatever Sinestro could have done to him probably would not have been worth the ring having to recover for it.
Yeah, and then Sinestro lays down some hard truth. Like you have to stand out. You can't stand to be upstage. Being a member of the corps, you still need to get used to it. And he looks him dead in the eyes like, you need to get a hold of your anger, Jordan. That's what almost got you killed today. I don't know what or who you're so angry with, but you continue directed at me. You need to grow up, deal with it, and get on with your life. Because trust me, if I have to be your problem, you won't like it.
You're right. I know who I'm angry at.
Take me to Carl Ferris. I did not remember his name until just then.
Okay, we like kind of like I know the word's not synonymous, but we like rhyming names almost. Carol, Carl.
Jordan, we have protocols to follow. We have protocols.
Uh, no, no protocols.
That is the most nerdy thing I've ever heard Sinestro say. Protocols, Jordan.
But
Protocols.
is it out of character? I feel like the best Green Lantern would follow protocols.
Hal admits that Sinestro's right, and he goes to his house inside Coast City, starts banging on the door, and it's Carol. Carol goes, I want to talk to your dad. Where's the old man? Where's Carl Ferris? Carol Ferris. He goes in like, where is he? Where's
He's
the ritual? Oh, oh.
yeah, and I'll say it again. I love that this happened to him. I love that he harbored all this anger, all this hatred, and this is the reveal for him. This made me so happy because I say happy, and it didn't make me happy, but it made me. He needed it. This right here is what he needed. He harbored all this hatred, all of this just to find out Carl was his dad's best friend. And very much like Hal's mother, the guilt took a toll on him, and he has been bedridden. He's on death's door now, and Carol's been having to, handle the business, handle all these, these pilots and everything, handle his ass, and it finally some realization kicks in. What like and I just know even though Sinestro doesn't know what's going on right here, I like to think that he gets a little feeling that like I told you so.
Sounds like I'm right again.
I just felt some anger be released somewhere. I feel like I'm right.
Yeah, I like this reveal too because you definitely believe that Hal sort of envisioned him as like this fat cat billionaire, sort of like sitting on his yacht, smoking imported Cuban cigars, cutting corners to save millions, or probably just to save like a couple $100,
Hmm.
whatever to protect the bottom line, not caring who dies. And then he sees like, oh, you mean to tell me other people were affected by my dad's death?
I would have never thought about that. Have I told you about my mom?
So it becomes a great moment, well, a tender moment, because how he doesn't know what to do now. Like he got all this anger all set to go, and now it's just sort of gone. And he and Carol sort of like look at each other like it's hard to be alone, isn't it? You're not always alone. You're not alone, Carol. And
Ah,
we all kind of know what happened.
yeah, maybe sometimes she dates employees.
To be fair, this isn't a date.
No, you're right. This is just a moment that would be considered a date. Sometimes, maybe.
Seems like they skipped the date. But anyway, Hal goes off, makes a construct of his dad to look at it, and he meets Sinestro again. Like, hey man, um, looks like you're good to go. Looks like you found the will to live, which is the greatest power of the ring. All right, it's the most basic element uh, within one's willpower. And Hal goes, "You are right." And Sinestro goes, "I know."
I'm telling you. Sinestro just kind of, and I do like the dialogue here between them because it's not like Sinestro's not viewing him as an equal. Like it just doesn't seem like that would be a real thing for him. But he's like berating you as my job, not yours. So I'm not gonna let you hate yourself while I'm trying to berate you. He's definitely taking. I assume this is probably how Abin Sur would have treated Sinestro. This is how he got Sinestro on the right path. So I do like that he is definitely taking the more mentor approach with him, not coddling him, but making sure that he's learning. Because like even right here, for beings like us, overcoming fear is what we do best. But when it comes to guilt, regret, loss, even Green Lantern struggle with those. Like kind of like giving him like I'm not gonna call it insider information, but stuff that he probably would not learn in boot camp.
hmm And as they, shake hands, like for this moment where it's like, hey, I think we're going to be best friends. Like, sure, sure, let's shake hands. The Then all of a sudden, as you do, it's like, hey, what's this? Two lancers from different sectors hanging out here. Lantern 1417 2814. You've disobeyed our edict. Guess what? Guess what? You will report to OA for immediate discipline. Sinestro was like, okay, fine, fine. So they they get do they fly in? I don't think they
It
fly.
looks. It kind of looks like they kind of similar to how got whisked away. Because we do kind of see like the little straight green thing, green lines, and simulating that they're flying. But I feel like it is against them, and they are being drugged there by the Guardians. That
Yes,
is my assumption.
yeah, you're right. Because going by it, Hal's definitely in front of that sort of moment, and Hal doesn't know where the Guardians are.
Yeah, there ain't no way.
So Sarah's like, look, just let me do the talking, and we should get out of here pretty quick. All right,
Hmm.
all right. And um, let's see here. They talk to Sinestro. Like this is the second time you've disobeyed us, and again with the Green Lantern of Sector 2814, albeit a different one that is this is not Avensor. And he goes like, my name is Hal Jordan. I'm not a number. They're like, they know that. And in unison, they go, Sinestro, explain yourself. And it's like, okay, okay. I was assisting this officer in locating and arresting the killer who took life of Abensur, atrocities of the five inversions, and before you so arrogantly ripped me away from that backwards ball of dirt, see, they hate us. I had him in custody. All right, and
like
they don't seem to care. And they're like, yeah, fine, whatever. Well, he'll be sent back for his eternity of imprisonment. And this is where it gets spicy for me. However, the arrest does not excuse you from breaking our territorial edict. Green Lanterns must only operate in their respective sectors. They must patrol independently. They must fly on their own. Hal just goes, why?
very very middle childish answer. I want you to know this.
Yeah. And they go like, working independent will make you stronger, Hal Jordan of Earth. You will learn that enemies of order will stop at nothing to spread chaos. Do not question the Guardians. Hal just goes, why? we we have lived for billions of years. We know what's best. And we like the manhunters. There's like, Jordan, shut up, shut up. They did your job. They got all glitchy. All right. And like, look, that's a lie from Atrocitus. Like, that wasn't Atrocitus. That was Abensur. Or more fables to instill fear. And then Hal puts on his big boy pants and says the quiet part out loud. All
Oh,
right.
oh boy, yeah, he made the Smurfs extra angry, yo.
He says, like, I think you guys are afraid. And they go, you think we're afraid? I'm like, that is not the right response, guys.
But I do like right here when so and because it's bold and he says Jordan, don't push it too far, which means that he was vibing with what Hal was saying for a good bit.
He was like, right, right, right. Too far, too far, too far, too far.
You see how their eyes glowed, right? You can't do it with their eyes.
You've made the eyes glow, Jordan. This is where we start apologizing.
No, no, I ain't about apologizing.
I was like, hold on. Like, look, I've seen worse light shows. I'm not afraid of them, but I think it's pretty obvious they're afraid of us. And Sarah's like, what are you talking about? Like, hold on, Matt. Think about it, all right? Our rings don't work on yellow. No one can explain why, but every building here is yellow. All right? Why would you do that? If we got attacked, what do we do? Falling debris, what do we do? We
Oh
just
yeah.
die. All right? They're afraid of us, which also explains on some level why there's only one guardian per sector, one lantern per sector.
I was about to say he doesn't want they at this point they don't really want a military. But once again, another one of my favorite little panels pops up. And, we have Hal saying they expect us to overcome our fears. And we get to see our Green Lantern symbol in our irises right there, which I just think is really cool that, they're kind of going by them one by one. I know we're missing a few. But, of course, we got our eavesdropping Green Lanterns outside, too.
Yeah, it's kind of weird that no one really did anything about this. Like, you just come up to the door, just
Yeah,
listen.
y'all are loud enough. We heard you from boot camp. We we were not originally over here.
All right. We heard like them yell like, "We ain't afraid," and we're like, "We got afraid." All right. um. So Sinestro goes like, "Hey, look, you know what? Um, you know what? Oh, help me! The Earthman is right. You expel Hal Jordan, you can take my ring too. And let me tell you right now, my sector, once I'm gone, you won't like it. You
Yeah.
won't like it. They'll like it when I'm gone, but you won't like it."
You need me.
And all this started because one of you sent me to assist Alvin's social placement, and it's like the one who calls himself Ganthet. He's like, Ganthet, we take no names, and one of you did. And he's like, which one? Who did? I'm like, I heard Ganthet was like the coolest guardian. All right. I mean, like, he's like a little bit taller. He's a dwarf among midgets. Um, he has the best singing voice. Is the smartest one here. I think it's that one right there. He's really feeling himself right now. Yeah, that's Ganthet.
Yeah, that guy. I see you, Ganthet.
um, Now, to be fair, the Super Smurfs are freaking out. Like, okay, we've heard a lot today. Apparently, someone here thinks they get a name.
Looking
We'll
at
figure
you.
that one out later. But since you want to be the star, Sinestro, fine. The Earth one is your responsibility right now. All right, as Kuragar and the rest of Sector 1417 is. And you know what? We trust that is acceptable, Sinestro, greatest of the Green Lanterns.
hmm
Sinestro goes, yes.
Darn right.
Yes. Um,
And I do like that. We're. I do like as we're pushing forward, though we're kind of wrapping up a lot of the or well, I'm not saying wrapping up, but kind of like touching on all the small stories that were happening through it. Like we have Hal. Guys, I made it work on Yellow. I'm telling you, it worked. I promise.
I seen it. I seen it with my eyes.
I did it. I promise you.
Crazy Earth, man.
Tomorrow's like, sure, yo.
Yeah, man. I can almost see it. Like you dented it. You did.
hmm No, he didn't dent it. There's nothing on that thing over there. But yeah, I don't want his willpower to go down.
Look, I just want to go home. All right. Look. He won't let us leave. Let's just humor him so we can all go home. All right. I've
Speaking
been
of going
flying for like
home,
8 hours. All right.
I do like that Sinestro here. He's like, all right, I got to go drop this guy off. Hal, you're invited to the cookout. Not my cookout, but I do like that he's like, you can come over to, we're gonna meet up again shortly, but this time you're coming to my sector, and I'm gonna show you how this shit gets done.
Yeah, I'm sure you won't be uncomfortable by anything you see here.
Yeah, we're what did Earthlings call it? Police state. That sound right? Yeah, I police everything, yo. Hey,
Fascism? Fascism? Fascism, I think you call it.
was it Parks and Rec? Jaywalking, straight to jail. Steal bread, straight to jail. You wearing too much perfume, straight to jail. We have a lot of jails, Hal.
So Hal resumes life. Tom apparently decided to be a really good friend, like the best friend, and rebuilt the old plane that Hal's dad took him flying in the first time. Which I'm sorry, Tom should just be like it's now Tom, Jimmy Olsen, Froggy. I'm sorry, Foggy, and Alfred.
Foggy is a ride or die. The fact that he's able to rebuild it from scratch though shows he's a really good mechanic, and he's a wingman for Carol
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's no
or
one
for
else.
Hal.
I mean, he knows he doesn't have a shot with it. Like, yeah, I'm not. I'm
Yeah,
not.
that's all you, pal. She doesn't date employees.
Hector is doing. Yeah,
Hector.
Hector's. I would say he's doing better, but well, at least he's not hurting anybody.
Kind of reminds me of Modoc at this point. He's just enlarged cranium, looking like a baby almost. But William's still being weird.
I mean, it'd be weird if William all of a sudden decided to be normal. Um,
And he found that out that he can just make his own dead bodies now. He doesn't have to go to the morgue.
what's also interesting is that in that scene there, um, on the radio seems to mention that the recent appearance of Superman in Metropolis is implying this is all happening not only relatively, around the same time, but also this is like the beginning of the superhero community sort of coming
Emerging.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, like I don't. What is he doing? What is William doing with the body? This isn't even the family. No, he's gone into a hospital, into the morgue.
He he just wants to feel how cold the body is. That I don't know, yo. I
It's
don't know.
okay. Dead is good. Dead is good. I'm like, oh Lord.
Uh huh.
Sinestro returns Atrocitus to his eternal torture. Um, And I guess the Trunks goes, yeah. I think he's like doing that in pain, but it just doesn't sound painful. So it's like he's just like going, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it's less of a pain thing and more of like I'm yelling at you, like because it's kind of like 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 inaudible anger. I don't know.
He gets under Sinestro's skin though by saying like, look, I get it. Our tails don't frighten you. Um, and like, you're not worried about yourself, but we know what you are worried about. Koragar, Sinestro's planet. Like your house, your home, your planet. Yeah, guess what? It's not gonna look good. It's not gonna look good. Chaos will take it. All right, your people plunge into madness as you save worlds not your own. Yeah, it's not gonna look good for you, man. All right, not good at all right. Like we've seen the future. We've seen the Green Lantern movie coming soon. It ain't good. This this ain't it, Chief.
And once again, I get my cool little panel with the Red Lantern Corps and the irises. I'm telling you, like they knew what they were doing. I love all this foreshadowing.
Hmm. And later, Hal meets with Jim because Jack is. We gotta start with Jim first.
hmm
Yeah.
because I don't think that there's any situation in which Jack's gonna want to see Hal. I don't care if Hal's a superhero and saves everybody. You know who he didn't save? His mom. And Jack's gonna say that, and I think he's gonna hurt his feelings.
And I did like that he did invite Jack. He's like, look, um, he's like, I've never been a good brother. Like, I just haven't. And Jim's like, that's not true. Like, it is, Jim. It is. Like, I love that you're trying to cover for me here, but don't. I've not.
But
uh,
I really like this scene here though because as we've been getting the pages throughout the story, we find out that Hal's been well, we knew that Hal was writing the book, but it was a book for Jim.
yeah. And so I'd have to go with the idea that what we're reading is Jim reading the journal.
Yeah, it's cool that it's in a flight journal too. Like, and it just goes to show that Jim really was just a good. Like, I'm not saying Jack was not a good brother, but Jim was doing his best to kind of like keep bridges mended. But I do like the kind of acceptance that Hal has here. Very much. Yeah, you can say that I've been a good brother. Um, I know I wasn't, but I'm gonna do my best from here on out.
Right, right. And I like this because it also shows that in a lot of ways, Hal's been trying to convince everyone that he's not afraid. Like, after what happened with his dad, he's trying to convince everyone he's not afraid. And that leads to him taking risk and sort of blocking everything out. Like he's not really aware of what his mom's going through. Like, you notice that we never actually see his mom. Like she's there, but we never actually really see her
Yeah,
or what she's going through. We rarely see any side of Jack outside of Jack just dealing with, hey, look, Hal, why are you terrible? Why are you scaring mom? That's all he's hearing. Um, it's all about the next thrill, all the next way to sort of not only deal with his anger, but try to convince everyone, and more importantly himself, that he's not afraid.
yeah. And as as Sindestro had pointed out, fear is deadly to a Green Lantern. So the fact that this is all a way, once again, it's growth for Hal.
Right. So that is it. So closing thoughts. Closing thoughts.
I thought it was really good. Once again, as a person that did not have much backstory for Green Lantern and has not got, I have not read anything besides The Blackest Night, which was kind of a lot of stuff thrown at me at one time. This was a good origin story. Well, secret origin and all that nonsense. Um, to kind of like get you up to speed with characters that maybe didn't get enough spotlight, or some reintroducing some characters like Sinestro easily went up on my list of characters that I just like, and because I've always been kind of a fan of like a flawed hero. So I do, of course, know that eventually, spoiler alert, Sinestro does become the leader of the Yellow Lanterns. So if I do, I don't, I have not followed a lot of the main Green Lanterns besides, of course, like Justice League Unlimited, John Stewart and stuff like that. So it would be cool to see like how, maybe even Kyle Rayner in the future, depending on what we read. But or like as I said, I did like the design for the Green Lantern Far Sector, but this was really good. It had a lot of uh detail to it without feeling too bloated.
Right. When I think of this, I can't help but think of the first Flight movie, the animated one, where Hal is, I think I said it earlier, like Hal is just kind of boring. Like I'm not invested in this Hal. He's just sort of there. Like, yeah,
Hmm.
I kind of already know what to do. I'm already on like the right side of this. I'm not going through anything. Hal sort of this Hal is like, yeah, I watched my dad die. Um,
Uh,
and my surprisingly, I know it's a shocker, that has affected my entire life. Um,
Not that I'll show it,
who'd have
but
thought?
hmm.
Uh, and it both is like the biggest part of his life and at the same time not. And in a lot of ways, he sort of it's not just sort of him becoming a Green Lantern, but also him dealing with that loss, dealing with that death, which is I think really fun. Uh,
Hmm.
fun's a very weird word for it, but we also get a lot of other pieces that'll be moving into place here. Um, Lady Ferris, as she's called by some. Frank Leminski will show up later, and I actually felt really bad for him in DC Rebirth.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, yeah. When DC Rebirth relaunched it, or sort of picked up with Green Lanterns, which was just Simon and Jessica being forced to share a power battery. Frank Leminski turns out at one point is so inspired by Green Lantern that he totally changes his life around because he wants to be a Green Lantern. And one day, a ring shows up, accepts him, and then goes, "I found someone else," and goes off.
Dang.
That's
Ah,
still an origin story if I ever heard one.
god dang. I found someone
I'd
else.
rather just not have picked me at all at that point.
It's kind of like you shouldn't have even said anything.
It'd be funny if he said like, "Oh no, you're a dumb Polak," and just left.
Yeah, we don't accept racists until the Green Lantern Corps. Now, speciesists, we got a lot of those.
Oh yeah, they like Green Lantern Corps does not respect Earthlings. Like no, Earthers. That's right. I said it with a hard R. Earthers.
Not on Earth Day.
Um, I wish we've got more of Tomari. Um, but that is what it is with Tomari. Also more Kilowog. But that's because everything needs more Kilowog.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, that I don't make the rules, but Geoff Johns, if you could have changed anything about the story, more Kilowog. Just
Like, you know what? Just make everybody Kilowog. Then we're good.
yeah. Luckily, Kilowog will be in a bunch of other Green Lantern stories going forward. Like Peter Tomasi's Green Lantern Corps, which is supposed to be side by side with this one. I don't think we're going to go that deep into this go through here. We could, but that's a whole other conversation itself.
Hmm.
But I would say this is definitely one of my favorite origin stories. And if you are looking to get into a Green Lantern story with that's pretty much straightforward. You don't have to wait to see what's going to happen next time because it's all right here. I would recommend this one.
I would also recommend it. Very good starting point or jumping on point, whatever y'all want to call it.
All right. So as we said earlier, after this is supposed to be the rest of Hal Jordan's entire tenure as Green Lantern, including the introduction of Guy Gardner, John Stewart, maybe not in that order. I don't remember that order. Um, the Star Sapphire will happen. Sinestro will be exposed as a despot. Coast City will be destroyed by Cyborg Superman. Hal Jordan will go insane. Also, Hal Jordan before this will have an inappropriate relationship with a Green Lantern. If you know, you know.
Oh
I'm
gosh.
we're not going to breathe that into existence. It's controversial. It's controversial. Um, Um, Hal will become mad with power. He will become Parallax. Power corrupts. Absolute power is Parallax. Hal Jordan will die. Hal Jordan will pretty much disgrace his entire name. And yeah, yeah, that's and then we will pick up, which will be in Green Lantern Rebirth. So yeah, yeah. If any of that sounded interesting to you, I would recommend you read it all on your own time because it's a lot.
But guys, I just need y'all to remember one thing. Carol Carol's dad was not golfing. And she does sometimes date employees.
Was the biggest. There was no bigger payoff than those two things there. But anyway, I think we've all hit a good point here. So anyway, with that in mind, if you are new to the Bug Fantastic, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, smash the thumbs up button. What's your favorite part of this story? For me, it's Kilowog, Sinestro, and Carol Ferris just looking like Carol Ferris.
Ditto.
Uh, this is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.